defensive guys as you're less than 2 weeks away?
Yeah, I think just like anybody would be at this stage of camp, they're excited to start doing a little bit of game plan work, and but we've kind of got to rein them in and remind them that we're still worried about ourselves, focusing on the details of our assignment. But I do think it's coming together. We're starting to solidify kind of our starting 11 and our base package and our nickel package, and I think there's been some leaders emerge, which has been a very positive thing for us throughout the course of camp. That's always something you're looking for, and we've had some young guys that have made some strides, and so we're pleased with that.
You mentioned leaders emerging. You lost a lot of leaders, and these guys were understudies, and they watched the other guys do it. Is it rubbing off? Are you starting to see that?
Yeah, there's no question. I think that's kind of a combination of two things. Number one, their familiarity with our expectations has definitely helped. Our summer workout, our PRPs, you can really tell that they understood what we expected out of them this year. Last year there was kind of that feeling out process, and so they stepped into things a lot more ready to understand what we wanted them to do, and that was a real positive for us. I think guys like Tani Tupou, Jarrett Finau, guys that have been around for a while, did an awesome job with the defensive front, and specifically I'm in tune to that, of course, and then Will Disley, a young guy that is a kind of a natural leader that is a real organized guy and really intelligent and can kind of help those young guys if they have questions about skiing.
Hard to miss number 8. He looks a little like the other number 8, but what's the potential for Ben?
Well, I think the sky's the limit with him. He's starting to kind of understand some of the concepts and understand our language a little bit more. And when he goes, he's got heavy hands, and he can really do a good job of setting the edge, and is developing pass rush skills. And so, yeah, there's definitely some physical resemblance, and we're hoping that turns into being exactly the same thing we got out of Howell. But that's high expectations, and we know that's a ways away. But very, very pleased with where he's come, especially in the last 4 to 5 practices.
On the whole, could this be a more solid unit and less flamboyant, spectacular plays, do you think, a more solid, cohesive defensive group?
Yeah, well, I think we were so young in the back end a year ago and had all this experience up front, and now it's kind of filtered out throughout the defense. So I think there'll maybe a little bit more steady play. It's definitely one of the things that we focused on as a staff in the offseason, was trying to eliminate especially those explosives in the pass game, and we feel like we've made strides there.
Is Benning a guy we could see out there? I know you probably haven't made those
actually,
but
yeah, that's a really good question. I think that's something that we're gonna have what we call a roll call meeting with all of our guys in about 3 days. And one of the things that we're doing tonight as a staff is kind of getting together and saying, okay, who are the guys that we think potentially have the ability to play? There's going to kind of be a couple of different categories there. There's going to be guys that, hey, no question, this guy's ready to go. Where can he fit in and help us right now? And then there's going to be that category of guys that, hey, as the season progresses, injuries occur, we got to keep this guy warm. And so we'll kind of have that conversation here tonight and then move forward with the players in the next couple days.
The offense is so young, some freshmen might have to play just for the depth purposes. What about your D-line and the rotation?
Yeah.
You see some young guys who would have to play a little bit?
I think that, while they're young, we have redshirt freshmen and sophomores that are going to play. I don't anticipate any of our true freshmen playing. I think the offensive and defensive lines are a little bit unique in that regard. It does take some time to develop physically that strength that they need to be able to hold up in the trenches. But I am pleased. Ricky McCoy's a guy who, just came in probably a little heavy, but he's really started to flash the last couple of days. We even have a walk-on from Federal Way, Jared Pooley, who kind of fell in our lap, and that kid's got a lot of upside. We're really pleased with some of those guys.
Coach, it seems like for most of fall camp, it's been Disley, Pauls, and Mathis along the front three. What do you think of? What are you getting out of those three that makes them the best group to start?
I'd say probably throw Tupou in that mix as well. I would see us playing, with the interior 3 guys. I see us playing a good rotation of about 8 guys. And, I'd throw Greg Gaines in that mix. I'd throw, Vita Vea in that mix as well. And so, we're going to be a little bit more hockey shift style. We'll try to get those guys to play at an elite level for 3 to 7 snaps and then roll guys in. And we're probably not going to ask our nose to play 80 snaps like Danny did against Hawaii a year ago. And that's okay. Those guys will get to that point as they become more mature in playing college football.
When we talked to you in December, you had high praise for Vita, obviously just after working for the first few months. How far has he come? Obviously looks in better shape, and I would imagine, better prepared and understanding of it.
I'll tell you the one thing. He's physically, he flashes. He's just kind of a wow guy. And so, of course, with any young player, it's developing that consistency. But the one thing that really has impressed me, this is a young man who, kind of had to sit out an academic redshirt year. He was a partial qualifier out of high school. He was on the dean's list here a year ago. And, going into this, you're like, okay, what can this guy handle? He's been awesome. I think he's really kind of, figured out how to study both on and off the field, and that's really elevated his play and makes him more valuable to us because he's a guy that can play some tackle and some nose. And that's probably what you're going to see is him. I see him, Tawny, Will kind of playing a couple different positions, and that's going to help our defense.
What about some of those guys that are in the fringe right now? Do you have guys maybe like a Jalen Johnson or a Damian Turpin?
Yeah.
Guys that maybe have splashed a little bit and shown more this fall, but where do you kind of feel that their role could be with this?
I think they're going to play. I think they're in that 8-9 guy rotation. And right now, Joe's a guy, Mathis, that is a big time splash player. He is going to make some things happen, but he plays at such a high motor. We've got to have a quality guy behind him, and really that's a place where Jalen has stepped up his game. I see him being a guy that's going to give us good downs behind Joe, and I see Turp the same way at tackle. I think he's really made strides. He's come a million from a year ago when I got here to where he is now. It's not even the same person.
Special teams wise, do you feel good about what you have with Van Winkle and then with Durkee at punter?
Yeah, so I think there's a couple of things there. Number one, I think Corey kind of struggled early in camp, and he's really had a good last couple days. So he's in a good groove right now. He's in a good spot. I think he kind of got baptism by fire a year ago, and now he understands what he's getting himself into, and he's ready to go. Cam is as advertised, and he's a very consistent kicker. And the guy that's had a really good camp is Tristan, and he's got a live leg. He's improved his kickoffs. He's pushed Cameron every step of the way. He's competing right there for that job as a place kicker, and so that's going to make all of those guys better. And he's a quality backup for us right now at punter, so he might be the most valuable guy in that unit because he has so much versatility for us.
Still looking at Tristan as the kickoff guy then.
I think he'll probably handle the kickoff duties out of the gate. Cam's actually worked on it and done a nice job on that as well. But I think we've got a nice little mix right there in terms of those guys, and our snappers have really, I think Luke Hutchison and Ryan Massell have really done a nice job.
And with the